Hello, YouTube. What's going on, everybody? Hope you guys have been having a pretty good day so far, and that everything is going well for you. Welcome to another episode of Real Talk Therapy with your girl, Ebony Campbell. Today's shirt says "Real is rare," and the hashtag is "No longer a slave." And we'll dive into that in just a minute here, but wanted to again just kind of thank you guys for bearing with me, staying with me, sticking with me through this ordeal, and I hope that you're able to pull something out of these conversations, these sessions, these interventions, the different things you'll hear me call them, to help you begin to navigate through your uncharted waters when it comes to your mental health. So now that we've done the shirt, let's get right where we can get started and get into our session. And you can see I'm still carrying my same bag, Coach, because it's multicolored. And here are my shoes for the day. Vapor Max. Not sure if you can see them, but I call these my Rainbow Brights. I don't know what they're really called, but like I said before, I just love multicolored stuff. Now, red is my favorite color. So, just so you guys can learn a little bit about me as we go through this stuff. But red is ultimately my favorite color. And so today, I want to jump right in and dive right in. We are now focusing and talking about addictions as opposed to our mental health, or not opposed to our mental health, or in combination with our mental health. And to get us started, I want to reference a definition. So of course, if we Google a definition for addiction, the most common one says addiction is a treatable chronic medical disease involving complex interactions among brain circuits, genetics, the environment, and individuals' life experiences. People with addictions use substances or engage in behaviors that become compulsive and often continue despite harmful consequences. So we know too much of anything or overindulgence in anything is not good for us. We know that sometimes in order to cope and deal with some stuff, we end up using things that are not helpful or are not beneficial to us, or we end up dependent, like we talked yesterday, on others to come through and help us in these ordeals, when really and truly, if we aren't helping ourselves, then we know that there isn't going to be any help at all, and we're going to continue to do the same things, have the same addictive patterns, because as long as we can get that fix or whatever it is that we're looking for. So if we're addicted to a person, or if we're dependent on a person, we're looking for them to come through for us in ways that we have not built up ourselves emotionally to come through for ourselves. If we are looking to feel a certain way or to escape reality to a certain degree, that's where the addictions come in play with substances or alcohol or any of those things, to just kind of help us escape the reality that we're struggling with, or what we're kind of running away from, those things under the rug that we don't want to pull out and deal with. So I'd rather drink till I'm drunk, pass out, or drink till I feel a certain way to where these things aren't bothering me, and then move on, or use substances, anything that provides a temporary escape for me, anything that keeps me from having to deal with what's hard, or to paddle when it's getting harder to paddle through those uncharted waters. Any of those things are what can be addictions. People are addicted to porn, we said, food, gambling was one that I left out yesterday. And once it becomes a problem to where you're unable to function, take care of your daily living activities, or your daily things to function with, once it becomes a problem, then you start seeing different things slip away from you. Gamblers have lost everything, their jobs, their homes, because they did not keep it at a recreational activity. Or it can be a coping mechanism. It just doesn't need to be one where you spend every dime chasing a jackpot and you don't know when or how to stop. Addictions to people, you have to realize that there are only so many things that individuals can do for us. A lot of self-care has to be taken care of by ourselves, or we have to be able to do those things, because when we become dependent on someone to do it for us, the minute that they're unable to do it, or they're not able to comply with it, then we feel some kind of way. We talked about the low self-esteem end of the spectrum. But there is a high end of the spectrum to where if you're dependent on someone and they don't come through for you, then you end up wanting to fight them, or you end up wanting to hurt them, all because they didn't do something that you thought they should do, something that you should be doing, for yourself. And as we look at our DSM-5 and different other definitions, and the DSM-5 does diagnose the substance use disorders. They also, it also looks at these other disorders. There's eating, like we said, obesity, and all those different things. But one of the main main definitions or statements that comes when dealing with any type of addiction is the demonstration of a maladaptive pattern of using this substance to the point of you can't function without it. Remember, we talked about the mental health disorders being mild, moderate, or severe. It's the same thing with the substance use disorder. Some people may have a glass of wine at dinner. I've heard people say their doctor told them to drink red wine for their heart. Whatever the case may be, it would not meet the criteria for something severe if it's a glass of wine with dinner, or a couple of beers on the weekend when you're watching the game. All of that stuff could be recreational. But when it becomes a maladaptive pattern of being addicted to something, someone, or some creation in our minds, or a substance, whatever it may be. Like I said, I could have a little slight addiction to Coach. You never know. Now, if I had to celebrate a holiday without my husband getting me a Coach bag, would I be okay? Of course. But in my mind, I might really be struggling with the fact that last year on my birthday I got a Coach bag. This year on my birthday I'm getting something different. Or I had become conditioned to receiving this item. And so now when I don't get it, or it doesn't come through for me, I don't know how to behave. I don't know how to control not having that thing that I want, or that, that feeling of receiving that item that I can't quite shake, or can't quite do without. And so to kind of bring us into addictions and kind of bring us into the mindset of where we're going with this, I chose to talk about Tom and Jerry for a little bit, or Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner. And these are cartoons from my childhood. They still come on Boomerang today if you have, cable or whatever. Boomerang is a channel, a Cartoon Network spinoff that shows these old cartoons. And with Tom and Jerry, we know that Tom is a cat, Jerry's the little mouse. And for years, we've watched Tom attempt to catch Jerry. And there's very few episodes that I've seen where Tom actually catches Jerry, but then he still doesn't eat him, or whatever it is he's trying to catch Jerry for. He still doesn't get to finish his plan of attack, or follow through with why he just had to catch Jerry. Same thing with Wile E. Coyote on Looney Tunes. It's the Coyote and the Roadrunner. They never speak. I think it may be one or two episodes I've seen where, Wile E. Coyote has a voice, and it scares you, because a majority of the time he doesn't speak, and all the Roadrunner does is run and say beep beep, and gets out of all of the traps that Wild E. Coyote has set to try to trap him. So we're thinking along the mindset of what I am associating mental health with now. Nobody said this. This was nothing that I found. It was just two different sets of cartoons that I thought about when bringing us or introducing addiction to our conversations. And so, it almost gives off the idea that Tom is addicted to chasing Jerry, because he doesn't catch Jerry very often. Same thing with Wild E. Coyote. He's addicted to chasing the Roadrunner. And there are very few episodes where he catches them. And the idea is that the cat chases the mouse to eat the mouse, or the coyote is chasing the Roadrunner to eat the Roadrunner. Now, mind you, they have other sources of food to eat, but for some reason, every episode they are fixated on chasing after the same thing. And that's how a severe addiction, can be recognized. If every day I get up and all I'm going to do is go out here and chase this thing, whether it's a drug, a job, some people can be addicted to religion. I know some of you don't want to hear that, but it's the truth. You can be addicted to your ego. We talked about that yesterday. You can be addicted to your way of life or your style of doing something. You can be addicted to so many different things, but you don't stop and recognize what drives you. What drives you? What gets you up and gets you going? And it's something that's not good for you, because you continue to chase after this thing and you neglect everything else around you that needs your attention. And so when we're talking about real is rare, it's very rare that people really talk about those things that they can't seem to do without, those things that they can't seem to function and manage without. I can't be real with you about this because you're not going to understand it. But I want to tell you and challenge you that when you are real and you find the platform to be real, you will find the help that you need to keep you from doing all these destructive things to yourself, chasing, after people who don't want you. Okay? They just like the idea of you chasing and running in behind them. They're never going to stop and settle down and be with you. Or chasing the idea for those of us that are, what is it called? Oh my gosh. I am a hopeless romantic, I say in a sense, or I look for I love a good love story. I love a good, happily ever after kind of ordeal, but I'm not immune to the fact that in relationships there's ups and downs, there's agreements and there's disagreements. That's the reality of it. But if in my mind I want to believe that, this is my happily ever after type ending, or this is my unconditional love, or this is my undying love, or I can do that. I can escape a little bit from that and create my own happily ever after. I just can't stay stuck there, because I got to come back to what's real. And in being real, that's what pulls you out of captivity. You're no longer a slave to what you're chasing. So if Tom were to stop and be real with himself and say, you know what, I'm chasing this little brown mouse day in and day out, and the times that I do get him, I don't get to eat him. He gets away from me every time. Maybe it's time I start doing something different. Maybe I look for another mouse to chase. Or maybe I don't chase a mouse at all. Maybe I start looking into, having a lady friend, because it's a couple of episodes where Tom meets a girl and, he's taking her flowers and all these different things. Maybe it's time for me to change what I'm chasing after and what I'm addicted to. Wild E. Coyote, same thing. You going after the same Roadrunner episode after episode, and when you finally catch him, You don't even know what you want them for, or you don't even go ahead and do what you need to do, to eat them or whatever. And so if we stop chasing these things and we become real with ourselves and what it is that we're really chasing, are we addicted to the chase? Are we addicted to the thrill? Are we addicted to, how we feel? Some people are addicted to chaos. Some people cannot function when everything is going right. So then they got to cut the food so something can go wrong, just so they can have a little bit of chaos in their lives. Don't make no sense at all. Doesn't sound logical. But that's how addictions work, when they're holding us captive, when we're slaves to these things that we can't control. And when we start being real with ourselves, we are no longer holding ourselves at that brink of, this is what my life is. This is all my life is ever gonna be. I gotta get up every day and chase this mouse or chase this road runner. And I already know what the end result is going to be because I've been doing it for so long. We become immune to it. And so when we're dealing with an addiction, or when we're dealing with a struggle, or if it hasn't become an addiction yet, it's just something that you find yourself in a rutless repetition pattern of doing, you gotta wake up and come up out of that some kind of way. But being able to recognize it is when it starts getting real. Being able to accept it and no longer deny that the issue is there is when it starts being real. If you're struggling with alcohol and you find that you got to get up in the morning and put some Baileys in your coffee, then when you go to lunch, you go to a restaurant where you can order you a little drink. I ain't going to smell it on my breath when I go back, but I need a little drink to make it through. Then when you get off, you go in your liquor cabinet and you're having another drink. You might want to go see somebody, because if you can't make it from the morning to the end of your day without having to have a drink, there's some underlining things there. And remember earlier on, I shared with you that, I worked at a place and under the leadership of a mentor who helped me to realize there's no surefire way to say that a mental health diagnosis, it spawns or creates a substance abuse diagnosis, or vice versa. Because I'm struggling with a substance, whether it be alcohol, cocaine, marijuana, fentanyl, opioids, meth, amphetamines, whatever it may be, whatever my substance addiction may be, that doesn't mean that because I'm addicted to a substance, that's what gave me this mental health disorder. I don't know which one created the other. But what I do know is that I have not encountered an individual who just wakes up in the morning, smokes crack, drinks a bottle of Jack Daniels, pops some opioid pills, crush and snort, shoot their armor. I have not met an individual yet in my lifetime who gets up and does that just because. Something is going on. Something in here is going on. And what I do know is sometimes when something in here is going on, it can lead us to start using those things. Because you know what? I don't want to deal with it today, so I'm going to drink me a little Jack. Forget it. Have a little whiskey neat with a couple of green olives on the side. Forget it. Because then I don't have to deal with this stuff running through my head for a slight minute, 30 minutes or whatever it does for you. It's going to give you that outlet for a little bit, and you don't have to face and or deal with your reality because of it. And then now, okay, if I was able to get through Thursday this way, I'm going to try it again Friday. And then I'm going to try it again Saturday, because I like the escape that it gave me. And then it goes, from progressing from mild to moderate to severe. It ends up being more than what you can handle or need to deal with. And at that point, sometimes for some people, it's too late. You've lost everything. But in these conversations, we can start looking at, what am I doing? Am I really having a nightcap? Or am I laying here drinking and getting drunk, for the evening? What is really going on? And then why am I doing this? Why do we do the things that we do? What probes us, pushes us, or gets us to that place of doing this stuff? Where are these urges coming from? And that's what we want to start exploring. How did I get addicted? How did I get here? Because some people with drug addictions used to, be your preacher. They used to be your teacher. They used to be your banker. They used to be your doctor. They had lives before their addiction consumed them and took everything away from them. And like we said, we're going to explore all of those things to the point of helping you understand if that's you or if that's someone that you know, and how you can help that individual. There is something out there for all of us. We could become, addicted to isolation. And that's where social anxiety comes in. During COVID, y'all, every one of us had an adjustment disorder. It may or may not have gotten diagnosed, but we all had to learn how to adjust to life, wearing a mask, going out here, and doing all of that stuff. And I can tell you, during that time, I had became fixated and addicted on finding Lysol wherever I could find it, purchasing it, and helping people who could not find it. And I didn't look at it as an addiction at that time. I just kind of looked at it like, hey, I found this plug, and some people may not be able to afford it. I know elderly people can't get out here and get in these lines. Me and my mama used to get up and be out there in them lines, y'all, every morning, buying the 1 or 2 cans of whatever, because we had got fixated on Lysol would help us and save us from COVID. Ain't do nothing. And I say I became addicted because I still have Lysol and Microban in my house to this day that I purchased during the pandemic. And it all derived from the fear of getting this unknown disease and possibly dying, because that's all that we saw. So anxiety on 10,000 when we were having to adjust. So, we developed generalized anxiety disorder, adjustment with that, and some people were able to ride that COVID wave on out and go back to life, as normal, and a lot of people we've talked about in the earlier session just were not. And some people are still afraid to come out of their homes or afraid to receive things into their homes. But I'm gonna tell y'all something real quick before closing. Every germaphobe that I know, and every person that had this issue with touching stuff and doing all this stuff during COVID, and I see some people now, actually saw somebody over the weekend use a paper Lay's potato chip bag. We were behind them at the ATM, and they had a Lay's empty potato chip bag, and they were using the potato chip bag to punch the things for the ATM. But when the money came out, they used their hand. Money is the dirtiest thing you'll ever come across, because it goes from here, there, everywhere. All kinds of hands touching money all the time. Money carries the most germs, more than anything in this world. But I bet you, very few of you have a problem grabbing money with your bare hand. And you may use, your stuff to do everything else. But pay attention to anybody that you know that has those issues. And if you do touch it with your bare hands now, and then you going somewhere to use sanitizer or wash your hands or whatever, I have to commend you, because you've taken on more just with that than you do with a pair of gloves that you wear all day, touching everything, touching yourself, your bag, whatever you got, and just transferring it from one place to the other. But I digress. I'm going on a tangent. Let me come back. So, in going into the study of addictions, a lot of times we got to sit down and really figure out what it is that we may be addicted to. And if we're chasing a high, whether it's chasing a relationship, chasing, a job, chasing a status, or actually using a substance, and we're chasing the high from that substance, you got to get to the root problem of what it is you're running away from, that you're chasing this thing to indulge or to help you forget about whatever it is that has you out here in the midst of doing that, because it's more underlining than what you think. I'd like to think Tom, he had something going on to where he had to get up and do that every day, and then he didn't have anybody in his corner to say, hey man, you're chasing Jerry every day, Jerry running from you every day. And Jerry was just as addicted to the thrill, because sometimes he'd go pick at Tom if Tom wasn't thinking about him. What's wrong? Why you ain't chasing me today? What's the problem? And that's where codependency, comes in. So codependency, and I don't recall that much in the Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner scenario, but I do know there are some episodes where Tom wasn't thinking about Jerry behind, and Jerry got out there and said, look, man, you chase me every day. Where you at today? And he would pick at him. So there was a codependency there where, there's two entities with addictions that collide, and they depend on each other to fulfill whatever that thing is that they're chasing. And so as we start looking at that, I want you guys to start thinking about real life, real talk. What is it that I'm chasing that's keeping me from reaching my desired goals? What is it that I can't let go of? And I'm going through the same cycle day in and day out. Tuesday looks just like Wednesday. Wednesday is looking just like Saturday. Saturday is looking just like Wednesday or Monday. My routine hasn't changed at all, but I'm not getting any type of positive results from this routine. You've got to be able to see where you're lacking, what you're falling short in, and what's going on there, in efforts to begin to know what it is you need to change. If there's some new coping skills or different coping strategies that I need, because what I used to do is not working, it's time to tap into that. Remember, self-preservation. We talked early on about preserving ourselves from being hurt, but we also have to preserve ourselves from going out here and hurting ourselves. We've heard the cliche, I'm my own worst enemy. In so many ways, that's true. We block our own pathways sometimes because we don't know how to maneuver or how to get around. And then we panic. And when fight or flight, kicks in, you run away from situations you should have been standing firm and fighting in. Or you're fighting through situations where you were supposed to flight and it's time to go. And in closing, I saw something today. I can't remember what I saw it on or where I was, because while I'm doing sessions and doing paperwork and different things, I listen to a lot of stuff. But I listened to someone today, and again, I can't remember. I'm going to try to go back and look for it, but I do want to share this with you guys. When you start feeling like people are using you and going to a degree of taking advantage of you and who you are and, all of these different things, I want you to remember. Now, I'm going off on a tangent. Just one more second, because this came to me. My husband shared this with me a little while back when I was complaining about a job. And he said, now, when you go to work, you should be expected to be used for the 8 hours that you're at work, because they're paying you for that service. They're using you for, your talent for that time. And it's not in a bad way, because you're being compensated for it. But when people start to misuse you, is when it should be a problem. And, like I said, I always try to make sure I don't bring up much from any religion standpoint, because we all have different beliefs and higher powers and different gods. But for me personally, when I started feeling like people take advantage of you and use me up, or take advantage of me and use me up, they only want me around for what I can do for them. You only call me when you want to gossip. You only call me when you need something from me, or when it's beneficial, or, why am I always the light in people's tunnel? Or why am I always the encourager? Why am I always the person, celebrating you on your birthday, or celebrate, I remember everybody's birthday that's important to me. I really do. And it's a big deal. So I try to make it a big deal for you, but some people I can remember and celebrate them. And then I can definitely tell you who reached out to me and said happy birthday, to me, when it's reciprocated. And so in that instance, I heard this individual talking about that, and I started to realize that it's not the people that are using me. It's my higher power using me to serve a purpose in those people's lives. And when I started to think about it that way, okay, if God is using me to help you in the midst of your trial, and that was all that I was supposed to do for you, you were never supposed to reciprocate or do anything for me, then it's not so bad. But the thing that I had to realize is when my time is up, I need to go. Because if I continue to stay in that, in that position or allow these people or this job or whatever, this relationship to continue using me, if I stay in it when I knew it was time to leave, now I'm allowing myself to be misused. So now it's not the people, it's me. So, there's a time and a place for everything under the sun. I firmly believe that. And we have to know what that time is and what our place is. And sometimes we interject and insert ourselves in things that we don't have no business being in. So with that, I want you guys to continue to tap into what's real, tap into what's really bothering you, tap into what those real issues are within yourself so that you can begin this journey. You can begin the process of learning why I'm addicted to this lifestyle, or why I'm addicted to, or have these addictive behaviors, why I'm addicted to this drug, this person, this gambling machine, poker table, or whatever. Why am I addicted to this food? Why do I sit and eat all day long? Or why, some people become obsessive and addicted to working out, it's all of these different things, but we have to be able to tap into the why. That's when it becomes real. And it has to become real for you to no longer be a slave to whatever is holding you captive. And again, I say real is rare because a lot of us don't want to tap into those things that are hard. A lot of us don't want to do. We want what's easy. We want, the fairy tale ending all the time. We want that everybody's happy and we're clapping hands and we want that all the time. But the reality of it is it's not going to always be that way. And so when it's not that way, I need to be armed with whatever coping strategies and things that I can use to protect myself from that blow. And it won't be so hard and it won't be so difficult. So, join us tomorrow as we delve into the different types of substance use disorders. We're going to tap into pornography. We are going to talk about gambling. We're going to talk about eating disorders. We are going to talk about, phase of life problems and different things that we get addicted to, and ways that we can circumvent those things and rewrite our stories in a more positive light. Because the more you continue to repeat something, you're looking for the same results. It's not until you do something different, that you got to do something different in order to experience something different. So it's not until that happens that you will begin to see those changes, and you will begin to have more hope, and you will begin to see your way through those uncharted waters. So don't forget, to join me tomorrow. Also, please continue to like, comment, share. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. It doesn't, it doesn't do a thing to your YouTube account. It actually will help get this channel, to reach the levels and the heights that we wanted to get to where someone who doesn't know about it is able to come back in and find a way to relate what they're going through everyday examples. I'm using cartoons, for Christ's sake, to help examine or explain mental health disorders and what they look like. So, I want to make it as real of a conversation as we can make it, so that at the end of the day, you're able to feel better about your physical, about your mental health, so that mentally you can focus on your physical, and then you're able to focus on all the other gamuts of you, the dynamics of you, and becoming that version of yourself that you long to be. And I want to thank you guys so much. Can't thank you enough for helping it make and reach the heights that it has reached thus far. So again, join us tomorrow as we go into a little further depth of addictions, and start doing some self-reflection and see if there's anything that you might be struggling with or have a slight addiction to yourself that these things can help you out along the way. All right, guys, take care, and until tomorrow, have a great one.